Good morning, everybody. My name is Panos Akas. I'm the founding partner of the New Row. The New Row is a design and research studio that was founded in 2016 in Rotterdam and was founded by me and Fotinis Setaki. We both have an architectural background. We work with projects of smaller scale and not necessarily architectural. I would like to start first with a short video, just to make a better introduction about exactly what we're doing. So, as you might understood from the video, we are working with robotic 3D printing, like a large-scale 3D printing, and recycled plastic as a new raw material. And we focus all our research and all in the combination of this tool with this type of material. The reason why is that we believe that plastic is a valuable material to be wasted, the way it is wasted until now. And on the other hand, it is a material that we can actually include in a closed loop and for applications that are much more meaningful and useful than just a single-use plastic packaging or other types of products that are used for a very short period of time and then are instantly thrown away. When we started, it was easy to find. So plastic is a material that it's everywhere around us. Of course, the moment you start paying attention to it, you can see on the plastic packaging, you can identify the different codes and start understanding that it's one big family, but the different types of materials. And here you can see some first experiments that we had done with our own plastic waste from our house and our office. Number one, a common plastic that is found in the plastic bottles that are everywhere. And number two is HDP, high density polyethylene, also very, very popular plastic, very common plastic. A lot of plastic packaging and products around us that are in color are made out of these shampoo bottles or cleaning products. And PP, polypropylene, number five, that is also a plastic very commonly used in many applications. There is some basic symbols from 1 to some about 6 basic types of plastics, and then number 7 for plastics that are like more mixed or let's say less popular. These are the types of plastic that we actually identify as very commonly used and as a problem, and we try to see how we can process them and turn this useful and more meaningful. When we start using 3D printing, and especially when we do it in a larger scale, the way we do it, we also create new possibilities in our design development and in our production. For instance, we can do custom-made projects. For instance, in this picture, you can see some benches for a new development project in Belgium that were made to communicate initially the project, and were resembling and were copying part of the architecture. So it was a furniture very specifically designed for a specific building, and at the same time it was a reason also for a local community or the new homeowners of the houses to collect their plastic waste or to do a cleanup in the river close by the canal. Use the plastic in order to build something for their public space. Another thing is that when we use 3D printing, we can actually integrate a lot of elements together. So in this furniture, as you can see left, it is a bench that has also integrated the foundation. And the reason why is that when you manage to create a product or a result that is a monomaterial, then after the end of use of this product, its recycling, it's easier. Hence, using one material has some limitations, but on the other hand, you can manage not to use any adhesion, any glues, or any extra materials, lamination, that they can make a recycling of the object after the end of use very hard. So in that sense, it is designed more for a circular economy or for a circular process of dealing with the objects around us. The specific bench is one of 100 benches that have been placed around the south of Holland, around where bikers can actually make a stop and have a break, enjoying the view. In the same way, you can customize. So the same way many of you might be able to do small, let's say, models in the 3D printing, in the desktop 3D printers, you can larger scale. You can create hybrids like this furniture that was made for an exhibition and for an expo. That was a combination of a bench and of a side table. And at the end of the expo, this material could be shredded again, could be broke down and be used for something else. If not, the whole project or the whole object could be reused again. So in my presentation, I would like you to explain the principles and the way we work in the Euro, basically through two main projects that we have last 2 years. The first project is Print Your City. That was a project that we have started developing since 2016. And we actually managed to apply for the first time 2 years ago in the city of Thessaloniki. We launched in customer Coca-Cola. It was a project where we went to the second biggest city of Greece, Thessaloniki, and we tried to apply a quite simple idea to think, but harder to implement. What if we could actually take the plastic waste of the city and turn them into that the citizens themselves could decide how they are and placed around the city. The initial idea was to make furniture for the public space. And the reason to do that thing is that it's a place where people spend a lot of time, and it's a space where you can actually waste around you. For this purpose, in the center of Thessaloniki, there was an experience center. We created an experience center where we brought one robotic facility, and also we created an educational program where people and everybody who would be interested could learn more about plastic, more about the correct use of plastic, more about the data of plastic, and at the end be able to see an application such as Print Your City. This space, unfortunately, is no longer existing. It was for 1 year, last year in Thessaloniki. At the same time, parallel to the awareness, so people could come and really learn about more about how we can use plastic and what we can do about that, we had launched a website from this project where people could actually harvest the possibilities of 3D printing. They could decide what type of size or shape their furniture would be. So let's say straight line. They could also make a decision about what functions this furniture might have. Would it have like a bike, would be bike parking, have some plants, be a dining place, or like have facilities for your pet to have their water, or to, and so on. So this website was launched. People actually logged in, and we had at the end around 2,000 unique designs, and also the color. And at the end, you could see how a concept of how your furniture would be, and most importantly, also how much plastic would be needed in order to do that thing. So combine awareness also together with the actual product. So yes, as you see, this is the video. And of course, these 3D models in the website, it was just a representation of the final result. The final result was this furniture that they combined the people, the participation of the people, let's say, led us to choose at the end. And at the end of this effort, 10 of them were placed in a central square in the city of Thessaloniki. Also, in parallel to that, we launched also a pop-up installation in the city in order for people, before starting the whole process, people to understand what they could expect, to start seeing the furniture, to start asking about what the material is or what it is, and also start imagining how they could actually shape their own public space. The furniture that we made were specifically combined with big plants. So we didn't just want to have like only like a sitting element. We want to add more green into the city. There were like actually large pots for small trees that they could create some shade, could add green. The same side could create a sitting element for the people. And they were heavy, but they were also movable. So we actually placed them temporarily in the seafront of the city of Thessaloniki and for 1 month, and then we brought them back to the experience center. And at the end, we did for more permanent installation in the square. You can see that apart from the awareness that nowadays more and more information problems that are caused and also the opportunities, people can learn about it in the internet or in many other sources. We really want to demonstrate also to the people like the possibilities of how you can make use of this material into do something. So the Zero Waste Lab was an open space, so youngsters, but also older people could come and really see how the plastic was shaped into the furniture that they had designed. At the end, a big success of this project was that we achieved to actually make everything in kilometers. So we sourced the plastic from the city. The center of the sorting of the plastic was in the limits of the city. Then the recycler of the plastic was again in the limits of the city, and then in the center of the city of a small factory where the actual products were produced and then placed again inside the city where the citizens defined and chose them to be. So in that sense, it was very interesting to do some things very locally when you really make use of a waste stream, of a waste source that is so popular and so dominant, together with some innovation, some new technologies. The second project I would like is called Second Nature, and it's a project that I started again 3 years ago with a short film about its idea. So I will show you first the trailer of the film, and then I can tell you more about it.
Σκεφτόμουν ότι η μορφή αυτή που θέλουμε να κάνουμε της πίνας να θυμίζει μεν πίνα, αλλά θυμίζει ταυτόχρονα και κάπως την κίνηση από τα δίχτυα όταν τα βγάζεις από τη θάλασσα. Τι είναι αυτό?
Ένας άλλος ιστορίας. So Second Nature was a film that we did together with the cinematographer Daphne Maggiaraki and with the support of the Katerina Laskaridis Foundation that was actually focusing on a different type of waste, of plastic waste, that it's not visible. Sorry, give me a second. Another type of waste that it's not visible, plastic waste that it's not visible, the fishing gear and the old fishing nets that are actually being stuck or thrown away in the bottom of our sea. They are made out of plastic, and actually they are one of the deadliest trashes in our ocean. Unfortunately, they are invisible. We cannot see them, but they are actually traps where animals and like small mammals, small fishes are being trapped and killed with no reason at all. The idea behind this, we said, okay, let's focus on this waste stream. Let's initiatives and organizations that actually do something about it, because there are many that actually do, and let's see how we can make use of it, and then create some products and some objects that have a storytelling, so people can learn more about it and maybe get more aware and more acting about it. So here in the image, we started with small prototypes, like statement pieces, we might say. They were printed in a smaller desktop printer from fishing nets that we actually collected from the coast. We cleaned, we shredded, we processed them into 3D printing. Maybe here it's a good point. I think I missed that our process is that after identifying the type of plastic, in order to be able to process it, we have to clean it, and we have to break it into small pieces, like a hard sand, and then we heat it again. So we remelt it, and we bring it in a state that it's a bit soft. And with a 3D printer or with a robotic arm, we can actually shape it into the shape that we want them to have. Of course, we started with a small scale, but then we went also to a bigger scale. And our action tool many times creates limits to us, but sometimes we are also trying to overcome them with different techniques and different ways of thinking through design, but also through craftsmanship. So here it's a table that was made with it was all printed flat, but then was created with the thermal bending. But at the same time, and the most important of all, we actually inspired the birth of a new company called the Blue Cycle, that right now they have a facility in Piraeus in Greece, where they collect the plastic marine waste from the shipping industry and from the fishing industry, and they turn it into raw material for the industry to use, or the designers to use. We have set up a small lab in their facilities in order to be able to experiment and see how we can work with that and what kind of products also we can do. The first products and the first series of products were seating elements, were furniture that were targeted for the hospitality sector. New project. It started 5 months ago, and this furniture were supposed to be launched during that period. So you can understand that with the crisis that the pandemic created, hospitality sector right now, unfortunately, is quite. But nevertheless, it's a place where storytelling about a more sustainable. Nevertheless, for us, the storytelling of our products is a very important. Is the way where you can actually raise awareness from the public and the users about really issues like plastic waste, and better understand how to deal with it, and how to change also behaviors. That's a very important thing. So these are the first prototypes that we created. And as I said, after all, 3D printing gives us freedom to really experiment with shapes. And the plastic waste is actually a material that gives us a lot of quantity to test, but at the same time, big challenge to actually turn it into something beautiful and useful. Your attention. That was my presentation.
Okay, Panos, that was very inspiring. There are some questions. First, by Juliana, says that
Okay, so the first question was about whether the objects are made from one type of material or a mix of different materials. Ideally, you want to have objects made out of one material. Sometimes we mix materials because they have very similar properties. But of course, then when the moment we mix them, the plastic, it's good to know, it's good to have the identity, because the furniture that we are creating here, they're not furniture that, let's say, at the end of the use, you just throw them in your recycling system and they can be recycled. Furniture that can be recycled again from us, because they have a recipe where we can actually break them down and actually use them again for 3D printing. So there are some types of plastic that you never mix, and the reason why you don't mix is because they have different melting points. So one plastic melts, the other doesn't, then it doesn't work. And some other plastics, they have similar melting points, but they don't stick to each other. So it's a bit of a chemistry. Of course, we're not chemists, but we are practitioners. So through practice and with talking with experts and suppliers, we learn how to better. In principle, it's good to have like one type of plastic each time and not mix them together. That's a very good question about how there are different types of plastics. It's a different quality of plastics when you create a cup where you're going to put it in your mouth, or like when you create something that you're going to put on your table, and a different type made to be used for cups that you can put them in your mouth. At least this project that I have shown you right now. Of course, this depends on the supplier. When we, for instance, in places where we do small campaigns and people collect their plastic, we wash them with a partner. You wash your clothes, but we don't sterilize them so that we can create products that you can be placed on our mouth or on our table. All right. Sorry for that. There was a problem with the connection. Are there any more questions, or should I just presentation? Uh, as I said, most of the plastics are recyclable. The plastics that are not recyclable, ones that are mixed together or laminated, or like that they are thermoset, so they're not thermopolymers. Every plastic has their own properties, so not every plastic is, let's say, very suitable for 3D printing. And you can actually see that thing if you're trying to find plastic for filament for your 3D printer. You will not see many different types, similar types with the plastic waste that are out there in the recycling, let's say, stream. What we are using, because it's a good, it's a different type, it's a good type of plastic for the final application. But the problem is that the packaging and the recycling, they are not made to be used afterwards for 3D printing. So they are made with a different type of technique, and then they as good. So the layers don't stick together. That's why sometimes you have to use additives, and there is a lot of research for many materials. So there is not a clear answer whether there are more than one type of plastic that can be recycled. I think every year more research takes place on that thing. And maybe in the future, packaging will be also made in a better way so that they can be easily recycled, not but for other applications also. Yes, no specific way of seeing how many times you can recycle a plastic. It depends on where it is. For instance, if you put a plastic chair in the middle of the desert, and you put a plastic chair in the Arctic, and then you put them again, the material it doesn't have the same let's say rhythm of deterioration. In the desert, in the environments where there is more light, there is definitely the material is degrading more. Also, it depends on the thickness. Something that has a really small thickness of plastic, then it can really break very easily. If it has a bigger, then the top layer degrades, but the middle layer, let's say, it's being, let's say, better protected. So you can see this degradation sometimes, but many times in a really small, like thin prints, you can also see it in the structural properties. All right, thanks a lot. Have fun.